All right, Craig, could it be the end of Steven Stamkos as a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning? It feels weird to even say it. He just feels like one of those guys that should go wire to wire with one organization, but it doesn't always work out that way. He expressed some frustration, that the talks hadn't happened, that there wasn't necessarily an extension in place. Are you surprised that it's gotten to this point with Steven Stamkos?
Yes and no. Yes, because you think about Julien Brisebois's comments that we want to make something happen. We're going to wait to the end of the season till we know a little bit better what the landscape looks like. And we see that the salary cap is up. Julien Brisebois would have known about that. And no, because, when I look back to the last contract that Steven Stamkos signed as a pending free agent, it was just mere days before July 1st. So, if you're looking at Steven Stamkos and you know what he's meant to your organization from the time he was 18, he's been at Tampa Bay Lightning, he's a captain, and certainly maybe he's come to that point where he says, I want to just see what's out there. I just want to take a little exploratory step, and maybe he'll surprise himself and go, geez, there's a lot of interest, which I wouldn't expect there wouldn't be a lot of interest. Right. But for the Tampa Bay Lightning, he's still a really productive player on a really good team, and I think in Tampa there's a fit there. I do believe there's a fit there. But there's going to have to be some give and take. But there's going to have to be a little bit of give and take, I think, on both sides.
Feels like a game of chicken.
Yeah.
It does. And it's not the first time that they've stared each other down in this game of chicken. So I ask you, who has the leverage in this game of chicken? Whose knuckles are a little whiter on the wheel? Who needs who more here?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of straddle the line. I think they both need each other. And maybe you need to get to the point of July 1st to hear what other teams are offering you, to realize the best place for me is right here. And the best place for us is to have him right here with that. Sometimes you just have to move through that process to understand where the best fit is. So I don't know where the leverage sits. I think they both have leverage, have an advantage, but I think at the same time, Tampa Bay is not going to be able to replace the iconic Steven Stamkos if he walks. And Steven Stamkos is going to have a lot of offers, a lot of overtures from other teams. So I would say that the upper hand probably goes to Steven Stamkos at this point in time.
Okay. So as of today, about 18 players signed, around $5 million in cap space to muck around with. I mean, you could just look at the numbers and say, is there even a way with the numbers that the Tampa Bay Lightning are facing to get it done? Or can they move somebody? Can they create some space? But is it a realistic possibility based on the algebra?
Keep this in mind. They only have to create space prior to opening night of their NHL regular season. Right, yes. So this is not something that has to be done with respect to being salary cap compliant. You're allowed 10% over the salary cap in the summertime. So that's the flexibility that Julien Brisebois has to get Steven Stamkos done.
Okay. All right, let's just say that, the collision happens and it's moving on time. If it's not going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning, where does it potentially make sense for this guy? He scored 40 goals. He has game left.
He does have game left. What I would say is there's two parts to Steven Stamkos moving into a potential team. Number one, he would add instant credibility to a younger team with players that are trying to find that next step, a team trying to find that next step. At the same time, I think where Steven is at in his career, he's not a frontline player any longer. He needs support around him. So I think those two things have to work. Obviously, the contract's going to have to work. I look at the Buffalo Sabres. I think the Buffalo Sabres would be a really nice fit for Steven Stamkos. Obviously, two-time Stanley Cup champion. He's a Hall of Famer. He walks in there. That's instant credibility. The younger players all see him as somebody that has won and done it, been there, done that. And I think that the team is good enough where they can support Steven Stamkos. I hear lots of talk about Detroit. I don't see a good fit for him in Detroit. I don't think they have a good enough team. Yes, they're young and everything, but I don't think that that's a team that can support Steven Stamkos at this point in his career.
Man, this is going to be fascinating. You've got, the well-respected, veteran, lifetime member of the Tampa Bay Lightning in Steven Stamkos staring out over his steering wheel at Julien Brisebois. I would not want to have to negotiate my next deal with Julien Brisebois. He can be ice cold in these situations. We'll see how this all plays out in the days ahead.